Here today with Jessica Leyva. She's going to talk about the importance of having mentors in your life to help guide you in the right direction and finding the best way that you can serve the community.
Hi, my name is Jessica Leyva. I'm an attorney with the Jerez Law firm. I'm here to talk today about mentorship and the important role it played in my life to have not only personal but professional mentors to help guide my career and how it led me to be a personal injury lawyer today.
Jessica, I've had the great pleasure working with you starting from the beginning of this year, and I was so happy that you came on, because you came on with a bunch of experience in the legal field. But I want to kind of jump back a little bit and ask, what led you to becoming an attorney?
You know, it's kind of a funny question. When I think about it, some people are always like, oh, I knew from the very get-go that I wanted to be, a lawyer, right? And I wish I had that experience, but I didn't. And I feel like I kind of got led into it with my mentors along the way. So I always knew, my mom always pressed education. It was never an option of, if you're going to college. It was, what are you going to study? What are you going to study? You have to.
And when you go to school, this is what it's going to look like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my mom, thankfully, was a very huge supporter of higher education. Ever since I was little, she was just very adamant. So
did she herself have an education as well, like a higher education, and so she kind of saw the value in it, or why did she push education so much?
I think it was more of a personal experience where she wanted to go to college, but because she grew up in a very low-income household, single mother, raising 4 kids on her own, she didn't think that she could afford it. She always had 2 jobs. She had to help the family. So she always wanted to go to college, and she got married, had a kid. And then after her and my dad separated, shortly after I was born, she realized, I got to figure a way out to go to school and make more money. I want a better family for me and my daughter. So she actually went to college later on in life. I was 13 years old, I think, when she started college.
Man, a single mom with a 13-year-old teenage girl at home.
Yeah, and it took a lot of sacrifice because, she was working 2 jobs at that point. She had to scale it down to 1. And then we ended up moving back in with my grandma, so she could help with the bills and stuff. And I just saw her really struggle, She wasn't a school person. It didn't come easy to her, so she had a lot of tutoring and stuff. But she ended up getting her degree. She became a teacher. And, she taught for almost 30 years. She recently retired. But
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
so you're the end of middle school, getting into high school, and your mom's going to school. Did your mom graduate before you graduated high school?
Oh my gosh, you know what? I think we ended up graduating within 2 years of each other. So I think right before I graduated high school, she had her college graduation. And then I remember she went to school to be a teacher, so she had to go get her certification test. And my mom's just not a good test taker. She gets really nervous. So she was waiting for her results, and she ended up getting a job kind of in the outer skirts of Texas, in one of the districts that allowed her to start teaching kind of as a mentor while she was waiting for her results. So I remember she had to drive an hour to work every day because that's the only job she could get for a while until she passed her exams.
Man, but here she is. She set the example for you while you're in high school. You're like, okay, she really was at the point, hey, you've got to do this. I did it. Look, it's easy.
Right.
Or maybe it's not easy, but as long as you do the work, you're going to make it through.
Yeah, and she always told me, she's like, and since I was in elementary school, it was just, she pushed education. That was the main priority. And, she's like, I'm giving you the opportunity to do it, the right way. Right out of high school, you're going to go to college. You're not going to wait, 10, 15, whatever years, however long she waited to start her college, I think that was only one of her only regrets in life, is that she could have done it earlier. She just didn't. She thought she couldn't. She's like, where there's a will, there's a way, And thankfully, we live in a great country where just because you don't have the means to pay for education doesn't mean you can't get there, whether it's through scholarships, whether it's through, even student loans. I don't know many lawyers and doctors that don't have to get that student loan, but it's just worth it, the investment in your future and yourself. So
yeah, and setting that pathway forward. So I'm involved in a mentorship program, been involved with it for a number of years, and it's called WAYAs. And so the idea is, we take an attorney, we take a law school student, we take a undergraduate student and a high school student, and show them, say, if you want to be an attorney, here's the pathway, right? So we communicate with each other, and as mentors, we work together, right? At different steps. Like the college student's able to work with a high school student and let them know, like, hey, here's a good counselor, or here's the way to get accepted into college. And it's every step of the way, and it's kind of focused more on the Latin community, trying to bring more attorneys from the Latin community to be attorneys, and to show them, like, hey, here's the steps, but you had it inside your home, where your mom was like, hey, like, this is how you get through college.
But I think you bring up a great point, because I think a lot of people that mentored me in my professional advancement were people who were already there and established, and kind of directing me and encouraging me along the way. My mom was very pressing on go to school, but she didn't have the know-how of, hey, there's scholarship options, there's these options. If you do really good on your LSATs, you can get that. Like, she didn't know any of that. So I didn't get mentored on that, right? And I always had it in the back of my head that because we didn't have a lot of money, it was very unlikely that I could go to a good school because I knew we couldn't afford it, and things of that nature. And it wasn't until I started getting mentored through my professors in college that I realized that there's actually a lot of opportunities for minorities. You just have to be made aware of that. I ended up applying for a scholarship for minorities to get prepped for graduate school, which is what I initially thought I was going to do. I wanted to go and get my PhD in psychology to be a counselor. And
to
then
counsel with people? Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah. Initially, I thought I was going to be a marriage counselor. I thought I was really good at being a mediator and seeing both sides of the story, and being able to be very objective. And my, everybody, my friends and family would always come to me for advice about things that they were going on personally. And I just thought it was something that I'd be really good at. And then when I got into college in that program and I got accepted, they have you look at all the professors in psychology and pick one. They say pick a field that you think you want to study in. And I looked at all the departments.
This was during the undergraduate studies.
Yeah.
They already have you assigning a mentor.
Mm-hmm. When I first got into UTEP, one of my friends was in the program, and she was talking to me about it, and she said you should apply because it's for minorities who want to go be in, get a higher education, PhD, and it prepares you. And so I applied, and thankfully I got accepted, and it paid for the rest of my college, which is amazing. And then the next step was, okay, now what? Where do you want to study? And then I looked at all the departments, and then legal psychology is what really caught my eye. It just sounded really interesting because I've always loved the legal field as well. And then throughout my next 4 years of training and working with my mentor that ran the legal psychology department, is when I realized that I didn't want to continue that path.
So you'd gone through the whole program.
Yes.
You get towards the end and you're like, wait, hold on.
Mm-hmm. He's helping me. So part of that program, you have to do an honors thesis as an undergrad to graduate through that program with that certification. So you're working closely with your mentor for 3 years on the project. And at the end, is when they're preparing you to help fill out your applications for where you want to go next for your master's and PhD. And I told him there just wasn't a program that was catching my eye, and I was concerned. And he said, Jess, I'm going to be really honest with you and take my advice with a grain of salt. But after working with you for so long these years, I don't see you happy in this field.
What did your mom say, right? Because your mom saw you working towards this goal, and then all of a sudden you have this mentor on the other side saying, no, you should probably go a different direction.
I have a funny story about how I ended up deciding to go to law school. So after he tells me this, right, I feel like I'm conflicted, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take a year off to think about it. And then my mom's like pressuring me, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to take 1 year turns into 2, turns into 3. What are you going to do? And I told her, I said, I don't really know what I want to do. Like, I'm a little concerned. And then she made a joke, but there was some truth to it. She said, you love to argue and you hate to be wrong. Why don't you go to law school? I think you'd be a great lawyer. True story. And then that got me thinking. And over the next few weeks, I was like, maybe I could be. I never thought I could be. I don't know why. I just always thought it was like out of my realm. A lot of reading. I don't know if I could do that much reading.
Yeah, who likes to read, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's all you do. So I just kind of had to mentally tell myself, no, I think you never know until you try. You're a smart girl. Let's see what happens. And I think that my mom planted the seed. I think I always had the desire, the love for the legal field. It always interested me, but I think my mom kind of planted the seed that I could actually go to law school.
So you had gone through thinking, I'm going to go to the master's program, get a PhD, focus on counseling, kind of knew those steps to get there. And so now you're like thinking law school. Like, how do you figure out how to get to law school?
A lot of Google. Unfortunately, I didn't come from a long line of, my family didn't have a lot of people that went to college. My mom was the first one, to go to college. And then I had a couple cousins after me decided to go to college as well. And they all chose they're educators. I come from a family of educators, which is
focus
amazing.
on teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They all wanted to be teachers. I knew I did not want to be a teacher.
Why did you want to break the mold? You don't want to go in the family's business and
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think teachers are just so underappreciated. I really just see how much work it takes and how much I feel like they need to get paid more for what they do.
And the value that they bring, like your mentor, for example, right? To recognize, hey, you're not going to be happy in this field. Let's find something else.
Yeah, and you always remember those great teachers, those great mentors, right? And I think we need to do a better job of supporting our educators because it's such an invaluable field. But it's definitely one I knew I didn't want to do, right?
Yeah.
I think I was struggling with what do I want to do because I definitely knew what I didn't want to do. So it just kind of, she's like, I don't know, Mija, like, I don't know how you do it. Is there people at college you can talk to, and thankfully through my program, I had met a lot of really great professors. I was working with one of the professors, as a lab assistant while I was kind of taking time off. So, I told him, like, I think I'm just going to go to law school. Why not? They're like, yeah, why not?
Let's do it.
And that's kind of how it went. And I didn't realize all the studying that was going to be involved with the LSATs and how long. I didn't even study for my, SATs in high school. Like, I never knew you were supposed to study for that. So it was a whole new world to me.
Yeah, I remember the SATs. My mom woke me up one day and basically said, hey, you got to go take it was the ACT. So she pulled me out of bed and went and took my ACT, and that was it. Like, no studying. Yeah,
you did no studying, right?
Yeah.
And I see movies now where, they're studying with tutors and, it's a big day to take the test. And I'm like, I remember just showing up one day and being like, what's this test for?
Right. Yes.
Like, I didn't, So, I think it's really important to go back to, the conversation of mentorship and especially like minorities who maybe didn't grow up in that type of family. Like if you have parents that grew up, that are teachers, lawyers, doctor, whatever, they kind of, I feel, raise the kids with that expectation of going to college, and they explain what to do and how to prepare well.
And when to do it, right? Like for my daughter, it's a whole different experience, right? We started when she was a junior, focusing on, okay, here's going to be the ACT, let's get into the right classes, start to take a look at it,
right?
What class is working, what class isn't working, and having that kind of preparation, someone seeing the path, right, for you. And so the mentor saw that path for you. It's like, okay, go to the legal field. And then Google helped fill in the blanks.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, it was just kind of, and it was funny, I was just Googling general questions, like how long is law school, how hard is law school, how much reading is involved, like things like that. Because I didn't know any lawyers. I knew zero lawyers. I knew a ton of professors because, thankfully through my program, but My family, they were all blue collar workers. My mom was a teacher. My grandma worked at the Levi factory all her life. I mean, that's the kind of jobs that, my family had, construction, painting. So they didn't know other professionals that I could talk to about, hey, how's law school? Like, what do you recommend? How should I prepare? What should I expect? Like, I went in completely no clue every day. Just like,
yeah, that's amazing, right? To be that shining example for your whole family, and coming from kind of blue collar background.
Yeah.
And kind of the work that you do now, because you focus on representing people. Like, you really, at least from what I see, you really are able to connect with people, and people love you. The clients that you work with really are proud to have you as an attorney. And so do you think that kind of that history and knowing your family and knowing what they've been through helps you relate to your clients today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that my background definitely helps create that connection with a lot of our clients, right? Because a lot of our clients have never been through this situation before. There's so many intimidations that they get hit with, from the insurance adjusters to lawyers, maybe giving false information. I mean, they want to be able to trust you, right? And have confidence in your ability to represent them to the fullest. And I think initially I wanted to be a counselor because I felt like I had that ability to connect with people and really listen to what they were going through and identify what they needed. And I think my background with my family also helps. I think speaking Spanish for our clients that are Spanish speakers only, that alone, the fact that you call the client and you can talk to them directly in Spanish is a huge thing, right? Because they'll tell me, in my last accident, I had a lawyer that I couldn't talk to. He didn't speak Spanish.
Or they never met the lawyer.
And they never met the lawyer.
Yeah.
It was like, I met him one time when I signed my retainer, and then the rest of the time it was just my case manager. And I think that's kind of an injustice to the client, because they're hiring a lawyer. So they should have complete access to asking them questions the entire step of the way. And I think that's one of the great things that sets our firm apart, is that we have that direct communication with our clients. Our clients can literally call us, text us directly. And I think that's what helps create that confidence in our clients and our abilities to represent them. They trust us.
Yeah, they have our cell phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like, they can, like you said, like, they can text us, they can call us, even if it's during the weekend or after hours.
Night and day,
Yeah.
and it's fine, because I'm kind of the same way too, right? Like, at night, I'm like, I have this one question. It's like, oh man, if I don't ask, I'm going to forget. So I tell my clients all the time, text me, email me, whatever. If I'm asleep, I'll just answer when I wake up. It's not a big deal, But, and they really appreciate that. They really do. And every time I talk to, the clients, when we're getting ready to close out their case, they say that. And they constantly say, I like that I could always text you and Isaiah. Like, thank you. You guys really did a great job. And helps, because we have a stressful job, right? Being a lawyer is stressful.
Kind of like what you're talking about, like with a counselor. Like, as a counselor, you want to be in a position to help people, to help guide them. And it's the same thing that you're doing right now, right? Because they're dealing with so many factors that are external that they can't control, right? They've got the pain, the health issues, they've got the issues with the car, the issues with, maybe they're not able to get to work or can't work because of their injuries. And so to turn to someone for help.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we're blessed to have this job. I really am truly blessed to have been able to go to school and, been practicing in this profession, for going on 14 years. And it just, it gets better. I think initially it was stressful, right? I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to handle these, poor people that just lost somebody, in a DUI. I mean, we really deal with such tragic cases, and being able to really, give them the good and the bad news of every case, right? We can't control everything. But if they have confidence that you really do have their, best interest and know that they're not just another case, that they really are a client that matters to us, I think. And I think we do a really good job about that, you know, that intimate connection that we have, that one-on-one connection that we have with our clients always. I think, you know, when you start pushing all the communication down the road, you know, it's easy to say, hey, you know, can you call this client back? I'm just really busy right now. I'm going to run to lunch or something. You know, when you lose that connection with the clients, I feel like you're also doing a disservice, because you represent them a whole lot better talking to them one-on-one, because they're going to mention something, right, that maybe a case manager won't pick up, that's kind of important, that kind of, what did you say, you know, oh, you've had headaches for a little bit off and on. Maybe there's like a TBI issue that got unnoticed that a case manager may not know to ask certain questions and follow up, but attorneys definitely do.
And one thing you said previously, and I think kind of the culture of personal injury attorneys pushes against that, is trust, right? For the clients to trust in you, because personal injury attorneys have horrible reputations. All kinds of names that are brought towards us. But how do you fight against that culture where, you know, you're a personal injury attorney, you're just after a big paycheck, and you're just, you know, going after these poor people that, you know, create these car crashes or cause these car crashes? Like, how do you push against that?
And I think the only way to do that is to maintain a certain standard with yourself and with your client's communication. I think client communication is key in what we do, because not only does it constantly make sure you're up to date in what's going on in their lives so that you don't miss anything, but then in turn that creates that trust. I mean, the more you get to know somebody, the more you talk to them, the more you're going to have confidence that I'm not just a case and a paycheck. He's not just trying to make money off of me. Like, he's actually checking on me, seeing how I feel after my treatment. If I don't feel better, he's working with me and the doctors to figure out what's going on. And I think as long as you maintain that communication, that trust just follows naturally, you know? And in my experience, when I've talked to clients that have come from other firms, you know, they say that. I could never talk to the attorney. I was never allowed to get through to him. And, you know, at the end of the day, they just took a bunch of my money and I don't even know how or where or why. And I've never had that situation here. You know, you and I talked to the clients the entire time up and through the very end. So, you know, it's a nice process at the end, because that trust has already been built over the months or even years that we've worked with the client. So I think we do a great job at our firm here doing that. You know, our clients, I mean, we get it on a one-on-one basis now, you know, good morning. And then I even get like holiday texts or something, you know, so that's nice. Like, you're creating, you know, friendships and, you know, we get a lot of repeat clients, and I think that speaks for how well, you know, we communicate with them.
Yeah, I always tease clients, like, when they get their check and the case is closed out, I always tease them, like, all right, I'm probably not going to hear from you again, right? It's been nice getting to know you, and some of them will tease back, like, no, I'm gonna text you, let you know, keep you updated, and it's nice to get those updates from those clients, right? That they do stay in touch.
They do.
Right?
I mean, I've gotten after I've closed certain cases, I'll get pictures from clients. I just bought my first house with my settlement check. Couldn't have happened without you. Thank you so much. You know, clients who got a new car after, you know, fighting with the insurance companies about, you know, their property damage, and they finally got some money, and they got a new car, a better car, and they send pictures. Got a new car, feeling blessed, thanks so much, you know. And those are the things that keep you going and motivated, because, you know, you can get worn down in this field. It is stressful, but I think seeing all those happy stories is what keeps us going. It keeps me going for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.